When Muslim speakers get invited to introduce Islam to a non-Muslim crowd, most of the time they speak initially about the 5 pillars of Islam. They talk about the 5 pillars of Islam as the foundation for this faith. However, those 5 pillars, they fall under one out of 3 categories in Islam. So we have the worship component, and under it there are the 5 pillars of Islam. There is the belief component, and under it there are 6 articles of faith, and then there is what's called the excellence of worship, or the spiritual component to worship, and that is the 3rd component. These 3 components came from a story in the tradition, in the Islamic tradition, where the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, were sitting together with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And then a man walks in. This man that walked in, he was wearing very white clothes, and he looked very well groomed. His hair was very dark. And he didn't look like a traveler. At the same time, people in the area didn't know him. Back in the day, everybody knew each other in the town. So if somebody is not known to anybody, that means he's a traveler, somebody who's passing by that town. So that man sat to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and he asked him a few questions. He asked him actually 4 questions. 3 of them were what creates these 3 components of the faith. So the first question he asked Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he asked him, what is Islam? And what he meant by Islam is that worship component. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave him the 5 pillars of the faith. And then the man said, you're absolutely right. So the people that are sitting around, they were puzzled, and they said, it's strange that he's asking the Prophet, at the same time he's telling the Prophet that he is right. And then this man goes and he asks the second question, and the second question is, what is Iman, or what is belief? And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, answers with the 6 articles of faith. So the man again repeats and says, you're right. And then the man asks, what is ihsan? What is this excellence in worship? What is that spiritual dimension? And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, answers that. The man asks a 4th question, which is, what is or when is the hereafter? And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he answers and he says, the asker and the answerer doesn't know when is the hereafter. So those are the components of Islam. The worship component, which has the 5 pillars of faith under it, and then you have the belief component, which has the 6 articles of faith under it, and then you have the excellence of worship, and that component deals with the spirituality. So the worship component deals with the body, with the physical aspect of the human being. And then the belief component deals with the mind, with the intellect, because you're believing in things that you don't have physical access to. For example, God. You don't have a physical access to God. You don't have a physical access to the angels. So that's why it deals with the intellect. And then the last one is the ihsan, and that deals with the heart, where the spirituality lies. So these are the 3 components. They are described in more detail. So if you want to get access to the free ebook, go to www.understandislam.ca and download the book for free. And I'll see you later.